Notes 10D. Factor out GCF. Objective. I can factor quadratic expressions by hand. Essential question. How do I factor out the GCF from an expression? Distributed, undistributing. Let's distribute first. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 2 is minus 6. Negative 5 times x is minus 5x. Negative 5 times negative 8 is plus 40. X times x is x squared. X times 7 is 7x. So that's distributing. To undistribute, this is what we do. We find the greatest common factor of each number. The greatest common factor of 4 and 10 is 2. Since the negative is on the first term, we're going to put a minus sign here. We're going to divide each of these terms by that negative 2, and what's left goes on the inside of our parentheses. Negative 4x divided by negative 2 is 2x. 10 divided by negative 2 is a minus 5. So when we undistribute, we have negative 2 times 2x minus 5. If you're to distribute this back in, you should get this answer again. Let's look at this one. X cubed plus 6x squared. Well, our greatest common factor of 6 and 1 is just 1. The greatest common factor of x to the third power and x to the second power is x to the second power. You always choose the x with the smaller exponent for your greatest common factor. Let's divide out that x squared from each of these terms that we are undistributing. X cubed divided by x squared is x1, x to the first power. 6x squared divided by x squared is just a plus 6. If we're to distribute the x squared to each of these, we would get this expression. Now let's focus more on finding the greatest common factor of two things. Negative 2x is the GCF of negative 4x squared plus 10x. Because the greatest common factor of 4 and 10 is 2, the sign of the first term is negative, and the greatest common factor of x squared and x is x. So now we have 8 and 12. The greatest common factor of 8 and 12 is 4. Here's how we could find that. Let's have 8 and 12. A number that divides both of them evenly is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 12 divided by 2 is 6. We could divide another 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. There's nothing else we could divide out except for 1, so this is left over. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 is your greatest common factor. If you wanted your LCM, you would just multiply the 2 and the 3 as well. 6 and 51. The greatest common factor is 3. 8x squared is 64x to the fifth. Our greatest common factor for the numbers is 8, and our greatest common factor for the x's is x squared. Again, remember, we choose the x with the smaller exponent to put here. Well, what if you're having a really hard time finding those greatest common factors of those numbers? Like if you didn't see the greatest common factor of 6 and 51 is 3 right away, here's what you could do. To find the GCF of numbers in the calculator, you press Calculate, Menu, 2, 5. It will have this display on the calculator. Say GCD, parentheses, you type in your number, comma, your second number, close parentheses, enter. Note, this does not work with variables, so do them separately. This will only work for the numbers, so if you have an expression like this, only put the numbers in. Don't put the x's. Remember, it's the x with the smaller exponent that goes here. If there's one number that has no x's, there's no x's in your GCF. Okay, let's do these. Factoring out the GCF. 30x plus 42. So we could do this using the cake method. 30x plus 42. They both go into 2. 30 divided by 2 is 15, so I have 15x. 42 divided by 2 is 21. There's no more 2's that could go into these numbers, so let's try 3. 15x divided by 3 is 5x. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Well, we can't divide out any more 3's, and we can't divide out 5, and we can't divide out 7. So that's it. Our greatest common factor is 3 times 2, which is 6. So 6 is going to go on the outside. The items that go inside our parentheses is 5x plus 7, our last layer of the cake. That's our factored form. Let's look at this one. 4x squared plus 2x minus 50. So first let's see if we could take out any 2's. All three of these terms are even numbers, so yes, we could divide out a 2. 4x squared divided by 2 is 2x squared. 2x divided by 2 is 1x. And negative 50 divided by 2 is a minus 25. We can't divide out 3's, we can't divide out 5's or 7's or x's, so we're done. Write 2 on the outside, our greatest common factor, and then on the inside we have the last layer of the cake. 2x squared plus x minus 25, close parentheses. So the numbers that we want to try to divide out each time is 2, 3, 5, 7, and x to the lowest power of the terms that you're dealing with. Let's look at the last example. 7x squared minus 35x. So, can we divide out a 2? No. 3? No. 5? No. 7? Yes. 7x squared divided by 7 is 1x squared. Negative 35x divided by 7 is minus 5x. We can't divide out any other numbers, but we can divide out x to the first power because the smaller exponent is a 1. So if we had x squared here, we took out x1, we have x left because 2 minus 1 is 1. 5x divided by x is just 5, so we have minus 5. 7 times x is 7x, that's our GCF. So we write our GCF on the outside, 7x, parentheses, x minus 5, close parentheses, and that's it.